Hey, William Gilmore here for the ScreenwritersJourney.com. It is day 236. I am back from Nashville, and man, what a week it was. The last couple days leading up to Nashville were just intense. As I went through my screenplay, The Calling, it's a horror screenplay, in anticipation of going to the pitch session at the Nashville Writers Conference, and it's a good thing I did. I got my pitch dance card, as they call it, and I ended up with 4 pitches officially, and two of them were horror oriented. A third was sort of horror, and one was action. So if I was planning on going with my action screenplay come-ups, I would have been screwed. So it's a good thing I had The Calling as a backup. And I spent some good time in those last couple days before I left going over that script and going over it and trying to just make sure everything was perfect in it. I was up till about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, Wednesday morning, which is the day I was supposed to leave for the conference, and was up again at 5:30 to get ready to leave. So I got about 2.5 hours of sleep, and it wasn't very good sleep. And by the time I got to Nashville, I was pretty much worn out. Which was fine because I wasn't going to go to the opening night party. I was getting there too late, so it was right to the hotel. There were problems at the airport getting luggage. There was a huge delay there. Then there was a whole issue with Hertz rental car. Hertz, we're not happy with you. I'm not going to go into that here. You can read it down below, where they just tried to charge me exorbitant amounts of money to rent the car that I'd already paid for. Was not happy about that. And then when I got to the hotel, it sort of looked like the pictures that I saw online. Sort of. From a distance, it didn't look too bad, but the closer you got, the more worn the hotel looked until you were right up on it. You're like, ooh, this looks like it may have been closed for a while and reopened. And in the room, I slept in my clothes every night. That's how bad it was. I didn't want my body to touch any of the furniture. It was nasty. The stains on the floor and on the wall and in the bathroom and the stickiness. It was vile. It was horrible. Unfortunately, it was already paid for. No refund because I got a deal. Always beware of the deals online. I got a deal, non-refundable deal for a really cheap price. Boy, was it cheap. So next time I'll probably spend a few more dollars and get a decent place. Anyway, so when I got there to the festival, to the conference on Thursday morning, I was a bit cranky from lack of sleep, the car, the airport, all that stuff. And the first thing I wanted to do was check out the pitch session and why there was a guarantee of 6 with more than likely you're going to get 10, but you're guaranteed 6, and only ended up with 4. And it was still on the website. It was on the website the morning that I was heading to the conference. So I was a little cranky. I was caught by Julie O'Hara, who is the director of the pitch session, and she very calmly tried to explain to me that more people signed up for the pitch session than they were anticipating, so they had to cut back on what they could allot everybody. And I wasn't really buying that a whole lot because if you set up that we're going to give everybody probably 10 positions or 10 slots in the session, you know how many you have to sell, how many people you can have sign up, and there should be a cutoff. There should certainly have been a cutoff once they reached the guarantee of 6, and but that was a decision that was made there. They said they had pulled it off the website. I'm like, yeah, I can show it to you right now if you want. It's still there. But Julie did try to make it up to me. She offered me an extra slot, so that would have given me 5. Now, the ones I got, I have to refer to my notes here. Hold on. My dance card that came in a couple days before, I got Danny Manis, who's a pitch coach. He's also in one of my online forums, so I've seen him before. I wasn't sure that I needed a pitch coach in the pitch session. I mean, that should have been something that I thought should have been done before. They should have had maybe the night before the pitch session. They could have had a pitch coaching session to help everybody out before they got into the actual pitch session. So I'm not sure about that one. Danny sort of had a horror bent. That's kind of what he was interested in. So good thing I had the calling. Mark Bombach, who's an action screenwriter. So there was come-ups. I'm going to butcher this name, sorry. Signe Olnick. She's one of the co-founders of the Great American Pitch Festival, and she's a horror screenwriter, has a film called Below Zero. And then the big one that I got, Chad Hayes, one half of the Hayes brothers duo. They wrote The Conjuring and the forthcoming Conjuring 2. Conjuring was one of the big horror films of 2013, directed by James Wan. So that I was excited about that. So basically, I had a pitch coach who was interested in horror, 2 horror people, and 1 action guy. So if I had gone just with come-ups, I'd have had some issues. So it's a good thing I had been working on The Calling as my backup. Then Julie did offer me a 5th with a local Nashville guy who does some producing, and he was interested in action films. So I was like, great, I'll take him, and now I get another pitch for come-ups again. And then over the rest of that day and into the next day were breakout sessions and panel discussions. Excuse me. There were a number of great panels. I have to say that the panels were really good. And they were made up by a lot of industry professionals, people who were working in the industry. It wasn't a lot of, I'm going to give you a tidbit that you can find out more about in my book, but if you really want to learn more, you can take my screenwriting course for $1,000. And it was none of that. These were actual industry folks who were sitting down and telling war stories and telling the people in the audience, here's ways that you can, help your writing. This is how you can meet people. This is how you get representation. This is how you get your film made. And there was a lot of really good information that came out of these. I was tweeting throughout the breakout sessions, and some of the tidbits that came up, Jacob Kruger is a screenwriter. If you're willing to work, any idea can be a great idea, a great bit of motivation. If you put in the effort, you can make it work. If you're not placing in the top 10% of contests, you have more work to do. So if you've been submitting to a lot of contests and you're not getting any results, if you're not even making the quarterfinalist or the semifinalist, if you're just an also ran, your scripts probably aren't ready to go out yet, so they need more work. That came from Max Tim. And then another one from Danny Manis, who was the pitch coach who I went up with first in the pitch session. And this was an important one. That kind of changed my mind a little bit about the pitch session and what was going on in Nashville and what Julie O'Hara had tried to explain to me when I was in such a cranky mood earlier in the day. Pitching is more about making a connection than making a sale. And that's an important thing to know. Because a lot of times when you're making a pitch for your screenplay, if they're asking for it after your pitch, more than likely they're not looking at your script. They're interested in you as a writer. So they're looking at your script as a sample, sort of as a resume. Can this person write? Do they have the chops to do this? They may have other projects they would be interested in using you for, a work for hire, something, a commission, something like that. A lot of times your spec script isn't what sells, it's what sells you. And you can't sell yourself unless you make the connection. That's what pitching is all about. You have to sell yourself as a writer so that they look at your work, so they'll hire you down the road. So, and that was something that the Nashville Writers Conference provided a lot of, was access so that you could sell yourself. What I really loved was that there was all these people from the industry. There were executives from Warner Brothers. There were screenwriters. There were everybody. There were agents. There were managers. And of course, there was a question and answer session in the breakout sessions. And then afterwards, you could stay and meet with them and talk with them. This conference took place at the Green Hills movie theater complex in Nashville, and they would hang out in the lobby. You could approach them and talk to them, ask questions. Right outside the theater is the VIP tent with a bar, so you could sit down and have a drink with them. They hung around for that. There was a lunch session that you could have lunch with. You could go in and get your lunch. They were there. That was all part of the conference. And at the end of the day, there was an open bar, happy hour. So free booze, always a good thing. And you could hang out there and have a drink with these folks and ask them more questions. They stayed. That's something that I haven't seen at other pitch conferences or writers' conferences, where so many of the people seem to disappear immediately after the breakout sessions. And I remember going to one downtown LA. It was my very first conference. And you had to pay to go to the happy hour. And the happy hour was literally 1 hour. So you got a free drink, and then you had about 1,000 screenwriters there, and they put it in this little itty-bitty tiny room that probably should have held about 40 people. And you had 1,000 wannabe screenwriters streaming into that room, trying to get to the bar to get their free drink. You were lucky if you got one. There were people who did not make it. And, of course, nobody from the breakout sessions was there. The agents weren't there. The producers weren't there. Nobody was there. It was just all these aspiring screenwriters, crammed in like this, going, "Did you get a drink? I didn't get a drink. I don't. Can you even see the bar?" It was awful, and they charged like $50 for you to go to that. Nashville, open bar, come on in, and these people are here. You can meet with them and talk with them, and it was amazing. And then after the happy hour ended, it was like a 2-hour, I think it was from 5 to 7. After that, the tent stayed open. You had to pay for your drinks, but you could stay in. It stayed open until like 11 o'clock. So there was all kinds of stuff going on there. The Nashville Film Festival was also going on at the same time. So as people were coming out of the movies, they're coming into the VIP tent. So you're meeting people who are directing films, producing films that are, making their break into the industry and have a film in competition at the festival. So there was all those people to meet. I mean, there was tons of opportunity for networking and meeting people, and I met a lot of people. I met a lot, and there's a lot I didn't meet. There just wasn't enough time. And I tried to work it as best I could. I was trying to get out there. I think I could have done more. I was doing my live tweeting, and I was doing videos for Facebook after each breakout session to try and update, what I'd learned and who was there, and trying to keep everybody abreast of that. And I maybe could have used that time to do some more networking, but live and learn. So on the second day, there was a few breakout sessions in the morning, and then the pitch session in the afternoon. The pitch session, I was still a little concerned about going to Danny Manis. There was a pitch coach, and I'm like, why am I pitching to a pitch coach, as part of the pitch session? That should have been something that happened earlier. I'm glad I went to Danny. Danny gave me some great advice. Because when you actually sit down in the pitch session, even though I've done pitches before, I'm uncomfortable with them. I'm not sure how to start them. Luckily, the guy that was supposed to see Danny just before me, because he had 10 minutes with each person, didn't show up, and I was already standing there waiting. And when the guy didn't show up, I went, "Hey, Danny, I'm going to sit down and use this session and my session." And he went, "Sure, come on, sit down." He was a great guy. I started going through the pitch, and I told him up front, I said, I'm uncomfortable with this idea of pitching, as I'm sure everybody is. And I'm not quite sure what I'm doing, so I'm just going to start, and we'll see where it goes. And about halfway through, 3/4 of the way through my pitch, I suddenly went, I'm getting really long-winded and convoluted, and I'm getting way too detailed in the story, and I just stopped and went, I've screwed it up, haven't I? And he went, "Nah, you're doing fine. You're doing fine." He goes, "You're getting a little off track." He goes, "But you're very engaging and you tell the story well. You're just telling too much of it. You can back off a little bit." And he goes, "And the idea that you don't know what you're doing," he goes, "is nonsense." He goes, "You obviously know this story inside and out." He goes, "So that's good." He goes, "And it's very engaging." What he did find was my opening, my intro was a little off. So I had mentioned it, the point where you don't know the story here, but at one point our hero is in a graveyard and he meets up with a grave digger who's digging graves, and he tells him a dug grave has to be filled. And that's sort of our premise of the whole piece, that our hero is dead, he doesn't know it, and the dead are trying to get him back into his grave. And so a dug grave has to be filled. He goes, I like that, it's a great idea. You need to lead with that, because that's kind of a hook. They'll get their attention. He goes, you don't have to explain it, but you use that as your hook, to get it started. And so then when it comes along in the story, they go, got it. I see where we're going. I had my interest, and now it's explained. And he goes, it's an aha moment for me. If you can get that aha moment, you've got him sold. I was like, great. So actually, my trepidation going into that session turned out to be for naught, because I learned a lot from it. And that set me up for my upcoming pitches. So apparently somebody, Julie, knew what she was doing when she set me up for that. So again, any trepidation I had was set aside. And from there I went to Mark Bomback to do come-ups. And I had pitched The Calling with Danny, because that's what he was sort of interested in. So I didn't sort of have that little hook idea when I sat down with Mark. And let's just say that pitch did not go well. I didn't even really get into the story or start talking about it. Mark started going off on some different things. Well, who do you want to cast in this? What do you want to cast them? And what's this? And these questions that I wasn't prepared to answer. So next time I will be. I have an idea of the different types of questions that might get asked. He asked questions that I haven't been asked before. So that's sort of why I was behind on that. But from there, when that pitch session sort of fell flat, I did not get a request on that one. I went to Signe Olnick. I know I'm butchering her name. Sorry about that. She was kind of taken by the hook with the whole idea of a dug grave has to be filled. I was still a little long and a little rambling, and so I could see her starting to drift away, and I ran out of time on that session. We didn't really get into too much discussion on it, so missed out on that one. And then I went to my fourth, which was Chad Hayes, and but I was starting to feel comfortable with the pitching. I just, after doing it a couple times and saying it out loud in front of people, and using that new hook that Danny gave me, I went into Chad feeling fairly comfortable, and he was probably the biggest name for me of the people that I worked or that I pitched to. So I should have been more nervous for him, and I wasn't. I was actually starting to feel pretty good, and got him with that hook, a much shortened version of the pitch, and about halfway through he stopped me and he goes, "This is great." He goes, "I'm loving the imagery. I'm loving what I'm hearing." Because you're really engaging, you're telling the story well. He goes, I tell you what, he goes, send me a copy of the script. I'll have a look at it. No notes, I can't give you notes. He goes, but I will look at it, and if it's something that I think has some possibility, I can send it on to some people. And so yay, I got a request for The Calling from Chad Hayes. I was a little leery about announcing that here, because I want to try and keep things close to the vest, but this is also a journey of learning how these things work and how these things happen. So I have to kind of be open and honest with you, and hopefully that doesn't come back and bite me that I said that he requested that. But it was a very exciting moment for me. And then he recommended, he goes, what you need at this point, he goes, because you obviously pitch well, and you've got some ideas. He goes, I don't know what the writing is like yet. He goes, but you need to start looking for representation. And he pointed across the aisle at Kaya and Daniela Garcia-Breck. Daniela is with Circle of Confusion. She's a manager. And he said, you need to talk to one of those people and tell them that I sent you, and you need to start looking for representation. I said, great. Now, I've not only got a script request, I got a recommendation for at least an introduction for representation. So, but at that point, I had to go to my next pitch session, which was with, I don't remember the guy's name because he wasn't there. my fifth one that Julie had set up for me, he had some business call and he had to bail on the pitch session. So I didn't get my fifth. But that's okay. I got a script submission from Chad. And so I sought Julie out after my sessions ended. And I told her that Chad had recommended that I talk to either the agent or the manager. I said, I don't think I'm ready for an agent at this point. I still have too much development to do. So I asked if she could introduce me to Daniela Garcia-Breck from Circle of Confusion. And she said, absolutely. Julie was a wonderful person. She took care of me so much. She checked in with me throughout the conference to make sure that I was happy with everything. And she actually introduced me to Daniela. And Danielle said, well, if Chad's recommending you, let me hear your pitch. Standing there in the middle of happy hour going, oh, God, I don't want to do a pitch now. She's like, if you want it, you're going to do it. I was like, all right. So I did the pitch, and she's like, great. I love it. She goes, it sounds great. You're engaged. She goes, you tell the story really well. I was like, thanks, because I really don't know what I'm doing, or I don't feel like I do. I'm getting better at it, but it's still just that kind of, I don't know what it is. I haven't done it enough, I guess, to be really fully comfortable with it. But she liked it. She also asked for a copy. So I got 2 requests for the script, one from a fellow screenwriter and one from a manager. So I was feeling pretty darn good at the end of that second day at the happy hour. And it's a good thing that I brought the calling. It's a good thing that I'd been working on that and was ready for it and reviewed it, because that's the one that got the heat. I never really had a chance to do anything with the one I've been working on, come-ups, but it was a great feeling afterwards to sit there at the happy hour and the after-hour party and to be able to talk with the other screenwriters and find out how their pitch sessions went and what people had learned through the whole thing. I got to sit down with Ken Miyamoto from Screencraft. He's a great guy. If you haven't checked out his blog on screencraft.org, you should. He's got great articles on there. And he's a really cool guy. We sat down and talked for a long time over a couple of beers, and it was a great conference. I really learned a lot. I met a lot of people, and I got some script requests out of it, along with a recommendation for possible representation. The whole thing with the script request and the representation at this point, it's a long shot, and I'm not going to BS you about it. These guys look at tons of stuff. They look at tons of material every day in between all the other stuff that they're doing. So the odds of me getting anywhere with this are minimal at best, but it's something that I haven't had before. It's a step up the ladder. It's making those contacts, and maybe something will come of it. I don't know. I'm not anticipating hearing anything for 3 to 6 weeks. That seems to be a standard amount of time before you can contact them and go, hey, did you like it? Did you not? So we probably got 6 weeks before we'll know anything. And chances are it'll be a turn down. But it's a start. So I'm feeling good about that. That's all I have. You can read more about it down below. There's lots of details down below on the whole thing. It's like 4 pages of material that I wrote on the write-up on this. Anyway, if you get a chance next year, definitely check out the Nashville Writers Conference. It's a conference that I can definitely recommend over several of the others that I have been to. And that's all I have for now. Over the next couple of days, I will be going through the calling. It's one thing Chad did say, is to make sure that script is in top shape before you send it. So I'm going over it the next couple of days and really reviewing it and checking it out. And I'll probably send it out on Wednesday. And so I'll let you know how that goes and where we stand then. Until next time, I'm William Gilmore for thescreenwritersjourney.com. We'll see you back here. Until then, where's the camera? Keep writing. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't.